everyone, welcome to episode 4 of Book Club, and today I'm going to be talking about Keats's Odes, A Lover's Discourse. This book, how to describe it kind of takes each of his odes as a starting point. There's like 6 of them, and then it writes an essay about it, which is mostly like literary criticism. Like it talks about what the meaning of the poem is and the way that the words work and the structure works and stuff like that. But shot through it all is like a very personal take to him. Like it includes like personal stances and like this sense of humor that was so lovely. And then it also has like some personal stories from her. And honestly, it was so good. Like, I know I keep doing this in all of my videos, but like I've annotated the hell out of this book just because her language is so beautiful and like just the ideas there. Yeah, see, this time the evidence actually lines up to what I'm saying, which is that I annotated the hell out of it. But honestly, it was such. I think I mentioned this like 2 videos ago in episode 2 where I was like, I wish I could read Anne Carson's work like in a classroom so someone would explain it to me. And this felt like the coolest possible teacher was doing exactly that, but with Keats's poems. So that was super interesting. I think even if you're someone who's not really interested in poetry, it's still really worth a read because honestly, it's about so much more than poetry, and also poetry is about so much more than what we think poetry is usually about. So it was really good, and I thought it was just interesting how it was tied to The Beauty of the Husband through Keats and Mater because they're friends. And I was like, oh my god, like am I like weirdly reading like this lineage of literature without really like having a syllabus or knowing that that's what I'm doing and kind of picking up these books at random. So I really like that. I also thought it was interesting because I've read A Lover's Discourse by Roland Barthes a while ago. And in that he kind of takes like one word and then like does a meditation on that word. Like that's how each chapter is structured. I'm a big Roland Barthes fan, like even though I haven't read his work like primarily apart from a few of these, because I took a course in college called Sisters, and it was a course where the Sisters was referencing the fact that poetry and art are like sister arts. And so every class we would look at one poem and one like piece of art, and it was taught by an art history professor and a literature professor, and then we would talk about how they kind of relate to each other. And I think that course was kind of like such a big turning point in my college education in terms of making me realize what I really love and what comes really naturally to me. And actually I wrote an essay for that class that ended up winning this like freshman writing award, which was really cool also because I love the professor, so the fact that they like nominated me for it was like really meaningful. There's like a video of me accepting the award from them where they like read out why they gave it to me, and like I'm like literally curled in on myself as a person because I was like just so awed by the fact that they were saying this about me. But a bit of personal lore inspired by the fact that she like shoots all of her stuff through with personal stuff. So in sophomore year, I took a leave of absence to come back to India because my dad was sick. And then I wasn't really sure if I was going to go back to college because I just felt that there was a lot of important stuff that I had to do in India. I was like working for a family business and stuff like that. And then I like after about 6 months, so it was like the quarter and then it was the summer after that, I was still like debating whether I should go back to college or if I should just continue and be here because things weren't like 100% stable, but I could also like kind of go back if I wanted to. And then when I was cleaning up my room, I came across the letter that my professors wrote when I won that award, like why they gave me that award. And it was about like they were like praising the sensibility of like talking about art and poetry, and they were like, you should never lose that, like that's really important. And reading that letter made me feel like, okay, I can be a little bit selfish and go back to college and like it's worth it to do that, which is why I kind of like went back for my junior year. Wait, I took a leave of absence my junior year of college, not my sophomore year of college. Dad fell sick in sophomore year, and then I took the leave of absence in junior year. So I went back for my senior year, and then it was like, I'm really, really glad that I did that. I took another leave of absence at the end of my senior year, so I missed my last quarter, and I actually graduated from home because my dad was sick again. But I think those like 2 quarters that I had of senior year were like so magical because I had kind of expected to not have them, and then I got them, and I like had all this work experience, so like none of the college stuff really like fazed me anymore, and I could just see it for this magical time that it was. Like, you know how people say like college is the best 4 years of your life. I feel like I like stepped out of that stream, and I was like, oh, I'm never gonna go back to those years, and then I stepped back in, so it was like extra beautiful. So I'm super, super grateful to those professors, Professor Nemerov and Professor Jenkins, for that course. And the reason that I brought this whole thing up is that in the course, they talked about Roland Barthes, and one of the key learnings from that course was the idea of the punctum, which Barthes kind of came up with, which is that like every book has like a synopsis, right? So like at the back of the book, it'll say what the book is about. And like that's fine, you can talk about that, but the punctum of a piece, like either a book or a poem or a painting, is that one specific thing in the piece that speaks to you, and it can be something that's totally inert to like someone else but very alive to you because of your personal experiences. And he was like, that's the part of the piece that you should talk about. So for him, it's like this photo of his mother, and like he writes this whole essay, and he never shows us the photo because he's like, it's not going to mean anything to you. It only means something to me because she's my mother, and she means these particular things to me. And throughout the course, like that's what Professor Nemerov and Professor Jenkins would tell us to do, to talk about the punctum, not to be like, oh, this is an allegory for like the myth of Sisyphus or whatever. They're like, yeah, like we know all of that stuff, but why does this work pierce you specifically? Which I thought was such an interesting way to teach a course, like not how you usually think about like criticism. And also like that whole thing made me think of her because she really does that. She like takes Keats's poems and she like contextualizes them. She talks about the structure and the language and all of that stuff, but she also talks about them from such a personal perspective. Like she writes about this lover that she had, and like you can tell that it's about her as much as it is about Keats, and she kind of says that in the introduction as well. I also wanted to mention that story because last August I went to campus, and this is going to make sense as to like why I'm making all these videos, and why, like, even though I have a full-time job as a founder of a company, I'm trying to write this book and stuff like that. But last August, I went back. So every year I try to visit California, I try to visit America to like see all of my friends. And I went to Stanford on one of those days, and I was alone. Like I just went by myself. Like all of my friends were like doing other things in SF. And my mom was like, you have to write to your professors. You have to say hi to them. Like they're going to be so happy to see you. And I was like, I'm so nervous. Like I hate doing this. But I knew she was right. So I like wrote emails to all of my like, not all of my professors, but all of the ones that I'd really connected with. And like it was my thesis advisor, it was my major advisor, it was a few people that I had taken classes with that really shaped who I am today. So my major was like CS plus journalism kind of. So those kind of professors, and I told them what I was doing now, which was Huvu and being an entrepreneur and all of that stuff. And it was so nice. Like they're all like, oh, we're so proud of you. And some of them remembered that I'd taken, actually all of them remembered that I'd taken a leave of absence, which is crazy because I graduated like 6 years ago. And they were like, we're so proud that, you know, like it ended up working out really well and all of that stuff, which was really, really nice. But one of the professors, two of the professors that I wanted to write to were Professor Jenkins and Professor Nemerov, obviously, because I love them. But I was like debating it up till the point that I got to campus, and I was on the Marguerite, which is our shuttle on campus, and I was like taking the Marguerite, I was sitting in the Marguerite, and I was like trying to write this email to Professor Nemerov and Professor Jenkins. I think of them as one entity. It's not that I like one more than the other, it's just like both of them are like melded in my brain. But I was trying to write an email to them, and I like couldn't get myself to do it because I felt ashamed. And I was like, why am I ashamed? Because I'm not ashamed of the life that I live. Like, I'm really proud of what we do at Huvu. I am proud of the things that I have learned and accomplished through being an entrepreneur. I cannot believe that something that Yeshu and I, my sister and I, built together employs people, like helps people run their households. Like, can't believe they're actual customers who use our product. Like, we get recognized all the time for Huvu, and it's like the craziest thing to think like our little baby like is something that exists in the real world, and like people know about it and care about it and like think it's interesting. But I realized I wasn't ashamed of Huvu itself, but I was ashamed, I guess, of what they would think I did with what they saw as this capability in me to engage with art and poetry and all of that stuff, which they had kind of rewarded me for, like with the award, but also after. Like, remember there was this column that came up in the newspaper. I used to write for the newspaper. I was like an opinion columnist, but there was like an arts column that was coming up, that was opening up. I didn't end up doing it because I was on, like I said, I took a leave of absence for that quarter, but the person who reached out to me for it was like, oh, Professor Nemerov said you would be perfect for this, and so I'm reaching out to you. And I was like, I took your class like a whole year ago, but I thanked him for it, and he was like, yeah, I just think you'd be perfect for it, and I don't want you to like give up this ability that you have. And I don't know, I was just like ashamed, I guess, to be like, I did nothing with that thing that you guys saw in me, whether or not it's true, right? And I don't know, I think that whole trip I was just like, the next time I come back, I don't want to be ashamed to reach out to someone that I really, really admire. And for a bit I was like, I'm gonna quit my job and become a poet and a writer. And then Shreya, my other sister, was like, you need to calm down, like you need to get a grip. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, I do enjoy this part of my life. I don't want to give it up. It's given so much to me, and I think it's made me see myself in a whole other way. But I also realized like there was a whole other part of me like that I was ignoring, which was the part of me that always dreamt of writing a book, that felt most alive when I was talking about like esoteric books that nobody like these are not like book talk books. First of all, it looks gorgeous, so it should be, but these are not like popular books. This video is not in any way gonna like make its rounds with the people. Like, I think it's like 20 minutes long. But I just realized like I don't want to be thinking that I had this in me and then I never used it. I would rather like make these videos, write my book, and maybe they suck and maybe no one reads them, or like I was recently complaining because there was a fake account with my name and it had double the followers of my book account, and I was like, who are all these people who are following my fake account but not my like honest book account? But I get it, right? Like, it's not for everyone, and I am not doing anything to package it in a way that makes it like interesting to other people. Like, I'm only pursuing my own interests. But honestly, like, I feel that's what I need to do at this point in my life, because I am so lucky to like have the time and the resources to do that. Like, I don't think in the first few years of Huvu I had the bandwidth to do that, but now I do, which is like touch wood because things are going well. But also, like, if I don't do it now, if like my life's dream is to write a book, and then I'm like, oh, it's so cringe to like put myself out there and like do something that I'm like definitely gonna be bad at because it's my first time doing it. Like, what? So you just like don't do the thing that's most important to you in this world because it's cringe or it's like a little embarrassing or hard. And then I was like, yeah, none of those are good reasons. And also the next time I go back to campus, I want to be able to like write to Professor Nemrov and Professor Jenkins and be like, remember I wrote that poem about, no, I wrote that response on, it was like Elizabeth Bishop's poem to the bathhouses, and I wrote my entire response on the word silver in that poem, like that one word silver, and like why I enjoyed the presence of that one word in that poem. And that's the poem that they chose to like give me that's the response that they gave me the award for. And I want to be like, remember you said that I can do these things? And like, I don't know if you're right or wrong, but I did them. Like, I tried doing that thing, just so that I can like meet the people that I admire without like being kind of like ashamed to meet them, which is a very long tirade. I thought this video was going to be shorter than the other ones, but I really enjoyed reading this book. It was like a visceral pleasure to read it. It was like 2 a.m. 2 days ago that I was reading it, and I was like, should I just stay up and like finish it? I was like halfway through the book, and I was like, I cannot stay up till 4 a.m. like finishing this book. But like the temptation was so real because honestly it was just such a pleasurable book. I'm excited to check out more of Keats's poetry, and I'm glad that I got to share with you guys, which is like nobody, because nobody watches these videos. But I'm so glad that I am doing this, and 2025 is my year of just doing things. So yeah, I'm glad, and I'm excited to go back this year and tell my professors what I've been up to, and not just the ones who would appreciate the whole startup grind. But yeah, thank you for listening, and